think there's one thing I'd add there too that distinguishes these from the metal-on-metal hip implants, and that is the revision is a lot more complicated than what we saw from the metal-on-metal hip implant, and specifically the DePuy ASR recall was one of those metal-on-metal. This implant here, I mean, obviously this is not the Stryker Rejuvenate, but this is stuck into the femur bone, and this is the component, this whole component has to come out, whereas with the DePuy ASR, you just have the cup, the ball that has to come out. This is a much more painful revision sometimes, because oftentimes what takes place is this is very well driven inside of the femur bone. It's almost like cemented inside of the femur bone. It's that compacted in there oftentimes. And so as a result, we're having to have this part taken out, which can be a lot more intrusive than what we saw from the metal-on-metal hip implant.
That's a good point, Daniel. And I was going to try to show a picture that I had seen at one of these conferences that we attend, but to demonstrate that point, surgeons describe this stem as being like rebar in concrete, being so well fixed. And so one of the big questions is, you know, for surgeons, do I take out a well-fixed or almost cemented, as Daniel said, stem out of someone's hip? Because what that requires is, as he said, is cutting the femur bone, largest bone in the body, and opening that up and just prying that thing, ripping that thing out of your leg bone, and that's a big deal. And then when they put a new one back in, they have to put the bone back in there, graft it together, and suture it, and then tie it around with wire that's going to stay in your leg, hopefully the rest of your life. The reason that some surgeons are doing that in many cases now is they believe that over time, if you've got this metal corrosion issue going on, that you're going to get more and more tissue damage, and you're going to have an even bigger operation if you don't do it. And I've got here a picture of some of the tissue, and I don't want to gross anyone out, but I don't know if we can zoom in on this, but this shows you at least a picture of the, down on the bottom right here, I don't know how it shows up on screen, zoom in on that, that shows actually where the bone is into the femur and what it looks like after it's been ripped out. Now, I'm not going to show you the pictures that show the actual condition of the bone after the fact, but you can see how that gets bone ingrowth on it, and it's a big deal to rip that thing out of a person's leg.
Right.